My husband needs to talk dirtier to me in bed. I can't believe you've asked me this on a podcast, because now I'm like, damn, I'm going to reveal details of my sex life.
We have never had a numerology expert on Makeshift Happen before.
7 holds the frequency of shame, blame, regret, remorse, revenge, guilt, and pride. I warned you. The shadow number is who you are when you are being your worst self. This is the hardest part of the chart to master, but one of my promises is that there's nothing priestess numerology specifically cannot tell us.
How numerology showed you what no therapist or no relationship book ever could.
It was never going to be plain sailing for me. I've made multi-millions in the 18 years I've been in business, but it's been up and down and all over the place. I cannot wait to see what happens after you turn 35, because I think you're going to blow the lid off. I'm excited to watch.
Me too. I'm like, should I be excited or should people be scared?
I mean...
You're like, a little bit of both. Holy shit. We need like a part 3 and a part 4. Welcome to the show, Harriette. I'm so excited that you're here. Oh my goodness, this has been a long time coming. I was just realizing that we had talked about you coming on the show in December of like 2024. And I'm still shook that it's taken, but like, you know, time moves so fast. I'm like, I'm shook that it's taken us this long to like get it together and have you on the show, but I'm really, really excited. Obviously, Andrea connected us, and then I was like, okay, your work is so cool. This is fascinating. I think the girls will love it. So I was excited to bring you on. So as I was just telling you, we have never had a numerology expert on Makeshift Happen before. So I know our listeners are going to froth this conversation so hard. So welcome to Makeshift Happen. I'm so excited that you're here.
Oh, thank you so much. I can't believe it's been 6 months as well. That's crazy, but time flies. This year, I'm sure everyone is sensing this. Like anyone who's slightly intuitive is getting the vibes that this year is one for the books. I don't know if you've been noticing it. In numerology, we call it a 9 year. So it's a big year of like a lot of endings, but a lot of new beginnings. And yeah, I feel like time is flying. And yet at the same time, sometimes it's so slow, especially for people who are like closing chapters right now. It can feel quite painful, but I'm here for the liberation of it. It should be a good year. Fingers crossed.
At the start of the year, I was a little bit apprehensive about the fact that it was going to be a year 9, because I was like, oh God, I don't know. I think maybe I have like maybe there's a stigma in general about like the year 9s, but I was like, God, you know, I'm just really not feeling like I want this to be a year 9. But then that means next year we get a year 1, which is like new, fresh energy, which I love. So yeah, it was interesting thinking about coming into this year and trying to predict what the year 9 was going to bring. But certainly, you know, there's a lot going on in the world, and I'm sure for individuals as well. I know a lot of people moving through endings, so it makes a lot of sense. But okay, so your like not so secret weapon in life and business for the past decade has been this art and science of numerology. So can you just briefly explain what numerology is and what it can help you do for anyone that might be listening and being like, year 9, what is this? Like, okay, catch me up. Like, what's the general consensus of numerology? What does it help us do? What does it help us understand?
Okay, so bit of background. There's lots of different types of numerology. Just like astrology, you know how there's loads of different ways to interpret it. Numerology is the same. So I started my journey with it studying what we call tantric numerology, which is where you get 5 different placements. So you get a soul number, a karma number, a destiny number, a gift number, and a path number. You are a path 9, by the way, just so you know, you do 9 energy very, very well. So you have nothing to worry about. So I started studying that years ago and was so fascinated by it. I went off and I studied Pythagorean numerology and so many different types. Like I won't bore you with that. Went down a whole rabbit hole, as us girlies do when we get obsessed with something. And over the years, got really frustrated with it and was like, I know this is amazing. Like I know there's so much gold and depth and wisdom in this, but I still feel like we are missing crucial information. Alongside all of that, I'm training to be a priestess, I'm a channel, psychic, all of those things. And so it must have been maybe 4 years ago now, I started to channel my own development of tantric numerology. So it's still got the same foundation of these 5 numbers, but I channeled an additional 5 placements and an additional set of understandings. And then through that, I then also went to develop the numerology for business stuff, which I think is the stuff I'm more known for, like the launch codes and the content codes, the messaging codes, all of that. But the numerology that I channeled, I call priestess numerology. So it still has those same 5 numbers, which goes back to like the beginning of time, but it also has your people number, your shadow number, your hidden key number, your blind spot number, and your embodiment number. You're an embodiment 1, by the way. So this year, next year is like, it's so juicy for you. It's so big. Anyway, I love it. So essentially, like, one of my promises is that there's nothing numerology or priestess numerology specifically cannot tell us. For me, I calculate it purely based on your date of birth. There's a lot of numerology where you'd calculate it from your name. I'm sure you've heard of that, right? Where each letter has a different numerological value. I've debunked that. It's not something I personally vibe with. Like, totally cool for other people who want to use it. But for me, I'm like, it doesn't actually work for every name in the world because it only uses the Western alphabet. So for me, I'm like, I don't like having to modify. So I just use the date of birth. From that date of birth, we get those 10 placements. And from that, we start to build codes and we build like scientific sequences of numbers. Each of those numbers holds an entire spectrum of frequency, potential, and power. So when you get really, really skilled at this, you're able to literally take someone's date of birth, decode it, put together lots of different strings of mathematical formulas, and then interpret the translation into the specificity of this is how you're supposed to launch. This is what you're supposed to sell. This is what your messaging is supposed to sound like. Like, this is what your soul is saying through mathematical scientific frequency. And then like on the life side, the stuff like, okay, so for example, you're a path 9, you're an embodiment 1. What does that mean? You've also got double vortex in your chart, like all of this fun stuff. For me, priestess numerology is an interpretation of your soul's inner energy compared to astrology, which is an interpretation of the planets and of the skies and like how external energies influence you. So I think they're both amazing. They often like have a lot in common, like especially for if you're familiar with astrology, like you know your sun sign and your rising sign and you're like, yeah, that's so me. It's those external energies that are influencing what's already inside. So for me, the priestess numerology is like, okay, how do I liberate you from being at the mercy of the external influences? Because when you embrace your priestess numerology, you're only working with what's internal, what's integral, what's true, and amplifying that. So it doesn't matter if Mercury is retrograde. It doesn't matter if you're going through a Saturn return. Like, none of that matters because this part, the inner soul, gets so aligned, so strong, so powerful that you kind of overcome external influences. It's very cool.
So cool. I love that explanation of the difference between like the internal and the external and how they're both like impacting us and can be true in different ways, but just like understanding that differentiation of what this is actually telling you. So I know that you credit this tool with not just changing your life, but really saving it. And you went from $200,000 in debt, depressed, on the verge of bankruptcy, to becoming a millionaire in just 3 years. So can you kind of share with us what role numerology played in allowing that to be possible and creating these sort of impossible outcomes for you in your life?
For sure. Wow, you did your homework. You read up on that, hey?
I do.
Gosh, that was such a long time ago now. It was, listen, we all go through trauma. We all have big things in our lives now. I don't ever want to say it was a really difficult time and like, you know, be the victim about it or anything like that. I look back on it now and I'm like, thank God it happened. But at the time, yes, I was in a very, very dark place. It was a scary place. I was, 25? I was so young. I was so young to be faced with all of that debt, the potential threat of bankruptcy. There was also loads of personal stuff going on in my life. A boyfriend had walked out. He was a narcissistic abuser, didn't realize till after the event. And I think I just hit that rock bottom moment of there has to be something else. I'd already built up several companies at that point, the old-fashioned way, like grit and hustle and just working your cutie patootie off, because that's what my parents did, right? So I had such great role models of you work hard and you get great rewards. So I had multiple companies at this point, and the idea of having to build it again, like from the ground up to get out of this debt, to get away from the bankruptcy, that just horrified me. And I was like, please God, there has to be another way. That way ended up being Kundalini yoga, which is really intricately connected to numerology, especially tantric numerology. So any of the listeners, any of you guys who do Kundalini yoga and like you love learning about the energy bodies and stuff, it's the same thing. The numbers are the same. So I went to Kundalini yoga. I found this teacher. He introduced me to numerology. And I'll never forget, we were sat in this tiny little cottage on a spiritual retreat in the middle of nowhere in England, in Glastonbury. And he looked at me and he said, "You're a path 11. You're a born spiritual leader." And I laughed out loud. I was like, are you insane? No, what? No, I'm broken. I'm a mess. Nobody loves me. My boyfriend left me. I have no money. I'm on the verge of bankruptcy. Like, no, this is insane. And he said, well, you're a karma 4. You are naturally very, very critical. And often when you're struggling, you will direct that critique, that judgment inward. And that's what's going on here. Like, you're reflecting on your life and not seeing it as an opportunity for spiritual growth and enlightenment, but you're reflecting on it from a place of judgment. And that's to be expected. This is in your karma. This is like part of your karmic lessons. And I was like, oh, well, I suppose that kind of makes sense. And still to this day, I really have to keep my karma in check because I will be my own worst critic. I will be the first person to judge myself, but we've all got that, right? We've all got a karma number. It shows up in different ways. We've all got, different challenges in the chart. And then I said, well, what am I supposed to do? And he says, well, you're a gift 7. You're a born performer. To which I said, I haven't touched a stage since I was a teenager. And I used to be a prima ballerina. I also had a professional singing career, a music career, but I completely left that behind. And he was like, you're a born performer. And I was like, I couldn't. And he was like, you're made for the stage. Like, you're made to be on camera. You're made to be an artist and a creative. He said, it doesn't have to come through music and dance. It can come through different ways. And I was like, okay, interesting. And I'm sure you'll agree with this, but like the work that we do in our industry, so much of it is artistry and creativity. And like, we're all of us, we're just creating stuff completely from scratch, aren't we? And then putting our magic out into the world. But I hadn't joined that dot at the time. And then he said the gift 7 is also the architect. So she's really good with curating systems and structures and modalities, but in a way that brings forward really innate wisdom. And I remember looking at him thinking, this guy is, at this point, he's unhinged. He's insane. This cannot be true. I was 25 though. I was quite young. Anyway, it sparked my interest enough that that's when I really started to study it and learn more about the placements and the numbers just of the tantric numerology. This was before I'd even developed my own modality, which is now more in depth. But by just committing to these 5 placements and understanding, like, my soul 8, for example, was always meant to have a challenge with money. It was never going to be plain sailing for me. I've made multi-millions in the 18 years I've been in business, but it's been up and down and all over the place. And at one point, I really judged myself for that until I recognized, oh, well, I'm a soul 8, so I was always going to have a challenge with it. But I'm also a destiny 8, which means on the other side of 35, financially, it really blows up. But there's a lot of healing work to do in there because 8 is the number of the healer. So each number in each placement, I could probably talk about for hours. I'm going to try to do as much of yours as I possibly can on the show, right? But when you really begin to study it, you see aspects of yourself that doesn't come through astrology because it's internal, not external. You see aspects of yourself that maybe you've been denying or suppressing or reframing it as something else. And I think especially in this era of self-development, and so many of us girls are so committed to being the best that we can be, I think sometimes we can be in danger of almost gaslighting ourselves and saying, oh, well, that's just because of this, or, or like positive reframe. And I'm not saying toxic positivity or anything like that. It's just we're so committed to being the best that we can possibly be and like living these amazing lives that we're so inspired by, and we have the drive and we have the ambition, that sometimes we can frame things and create perspectives for things that aren't necessarily true, but just serve the comfort or like the need to have an answer to explain what's going on for ourselves, right? And so numerology really helped me untangle a lot of that, where I was like, oh, I thought that was this, but actually it's this. And so I'm liberated by that. And I thought this was this, but actually it's this. And for me, numerology has just consistently been about liberation, self-knowledge, self-appreciation, deconditioning on a massive level, because we're conditioned by so much, we know. And again, we're all doing deconditioning work. Of course we are, because we're in this world. But there's layers that for me, numerology just took me deeper, that I was really able to untangle it. And I think through the money work that I did because of the Soul 8 and the Destiny 8, and the self-love, self-judgment work that I did because of my Karma 4, and then really leaning into the Path 11, which is the spiritual leadership, and the Gift 7 of the Architect, I then went on to build Ask Harriette. Like, that's what Ask Harriette was born out of. And then of course it continued, and I developed my own modality and then my own codes, and it literally overnight blew up when I stopped trying to fit myself in somebody else's boxes, stopped trying to build a business the way that I thought was the only way to build it, which was basically how my parents had done it and how I'd done it the first time around. And I think maybe one of the hardest lessons for me, and again, this is still an ongoing lesson, is linked to my Karma 4, but opposite the Karma 6, your shadow number. So Karma 4, shadow 6. You also have 4 and 6 in your chart, but yours are really strong. Mine are challenges. So you might not resonate with what I'm about to say, because I think you do this innately so well. But for me in this particular placement is this constant theme of wanting to control an outcome and feeling unstable if I can't control it. So basically the spiritual lesson for me has always been more trust, more faith. Surrender into trust, surrender into faith. And you see these mentors in the online space and these spiritual teachers who have absolutely got this down. And there's so many people, myself included, who look at them and go, how are you doing that? There's certain things in your chart that you're not supposed to just get like other people do. You personally master things that are unique to your numbers. But for me, one of my things was faith and trust. And I think for the most part, I'm getting there. But this is one of the other things with numerology. It's not a tick box exercise. It's a lifelong journey. You're constantly aware of deepening into your karma, deepening into your gift, deepening into your hidden keys, to constantly elevate. And if you allow me to get really technical with you for a second, each of those numbers is connected to a spiritual layer. You've heard of the aura, right? Everyone's heard of the aura.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone has an aura, like this kind of like bubble that we can't see around us. Some people can see it. So the aura is technically the 7th energy body. We have multiple layers of this. This is linked to Kundalini yoga. So anyone listening who knows Kundalini, here's your deepening. This is so cool.
I remember learning about the energy bodies in my yoga teacher training. So this is I'm following. I'm like, okay, yes, cool.
Sam, it's amazing. So we have the 10 energy bodies, right? The first energy body is your soul. So that's the one inside of you. 2, 3, and 4 are part of your mind. So we have the negative mind, the positive mind, and the neutral mind. But again, these are all like layers inside the body that very loosely connect to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th chakras. Loosely. Then there's the 5th energy body, which is literally like your physical body, right? Like skin suit, flesh and bones. Your 6th energy body, which is your 3rd eye, which everyone has. If it's in your chart in a strength position, it is for you. It's probably really strong. If it's in a challenge position, it's something that your soul actively wants you to grow and build. And if it's not there, it's kind of do with it whatever you want. But we all have one, right? So that's the 6th energy body. Then we have the aura. That's the 7th energy body. Then we have the prana, which is wrapped around that one, which is the 8th. Then we have the subtle body, which is an even bigger one. And then we have the 10th energy body, which is the radiant one, which is the biggest one. Some understandings that we basically understand the 10th energy body, the radiant body, which is you in your most radiant expressive form, is also the universe. It's one and the same. So when you look out at the world and you see the dome of the sky above you and you're like, wow, that's the globe that we live in, that's also you. It's the inside of your 10th energy body being reflected back at you. So everything in your reality is fully created by you, and it all exists within these layers of energy bodies. Anyway, by the by, the whole point of priestess numerology, when you really start to master your chart and master all of these numbers, is that each of these energy bodies gets stronger and more radiant and more coherent, as in the energy moves through them with much more ease. This is how we manifest. This is how we create our reality in a very scientific level. So, I'm all for the usual manifesting approaches. We all know what those are. But when we get really scientific, we can look at our priestess numerology chart and we can go, okay, so these numbers are challenges, which means these layers in my energy need more work. These numbers are strengths. So those ones I'm like, okay, chill. Obviously, I'll keep an eye on them, but we're golden here. If there's some missing from your chart, which is very common, it's not common that you'd have all 10 numbers in your chart. So you would have some missing. It's okay, well, they're not negatively charged, but they're not positively charged. So you work on those and you find that your manifestation skills get stronger and quicker and more instant, because your energy that you're emitting is way more radiant. And you know how we say in the manifestation world, be a match for insert thing. It's that, but done scientifically. So you can tangibly go through and be like, okay, this is what's happening in this body and this is what's happening in this body. And so then we start to tweak and align each of the bodies. And it's very practical. I'm British. I'm from the north of England. I like practical. If it's too woo-woo fluffy in the sky, count me out. I can't do that. I like practical. So I've developed this modality in this system whereby we can practically, actively work on each of the energy bodies and create these realities for ourselves, which are essentially whatever we want, but also what our soul wants. And it's very clear from the chart what it is that your soul wants as well. So
this is so fascinating. I'm loving this. I'm sure everyone listening to is like, okay, I need more. Give me more. So I knew about the life path number and I knew about the destiny number. Like those are loosely things in numerology that I understood. And like that every year is kind of a number and whatnot, like we talked about at the start. But when you sent me originally just like a screenshot of my like priestess numerology, there were so many numbers that I'd never seen before. A lot of them that you've mentioned here, like, you know, the people number, the karma number, the hidden key, the blind spot, the embodiment, like all these new sort of things. So as you mentioned, we're going to kind of use my chart as an example so that Harriette can illustrate for you guys in real time what these different parts of your chart can tell you, essentially, to kind of like show you some of the real elements that can be revealed to you when looking at your priestess numerology, which is your, you know, proprietary modality in numerology, which is so cool. So where do you want to start? Because I know we originally talked about my hidden key. That was the thing that we were DMing about because of a certain post. I can't remember. We were talking about something that I shared. Probably, I think it was when I posted that I like want more people to dislike me on the internet. Just as a sign that like, you know, the magnetism is there. We're being polar enough. Like you can see those two sides. And so you had said that my hidden key 6 was probably going to make me even more of a truth-telling savage after the age of 35. So that was like where we started. But I don't know where you want to start in terms of just showcasing what some of these numbers can reveal about a person.
Okay, let's just run through them real quick so that everyone's got like a basic understanding, because I have a free calculator anyway, right? So you can go and get your 10 numbers and then listen to the episode and like I'll tell you what they mean.
Should we plug where they can find the free calculator now in case they want to pause and like go do it and then listen in case they have similar numbers?
Sure. So it's Cody, Codie. She's an AI bot. Her name is Cody. Cody.askharriette.net.
Perfect. We'll link it in the show notes for you guys.
She's super cute. She does all the calculations. She's very polite. I have other AI bots that are savage, a bit more like Sam. So because you were being really 6y in your content, and I was like, damn, I need to know if there's a 6 in her chart. And lo and behold, yeah, your hidden key. And I was like, well, if she's already channeling that now on this side of 35, I cannot wait to see what happens after you turn 35, because I think you're going to blow the lid off. Anyway, I'm excited to watch.
Me too. I'm like, should I be excited or should people be scared? Like,
I mean,
you're like a little bit of both.
You've also got these 7s in your chart. You've got them in very different places to me. So I've got the gift 7. You've got this shadow 7, which can be really savage. But you've also got this blind spot 7. So anyway, we'll probably get to that point and talk about it. Let me run through the placements. So your soul number tells you all about the relationship you have with your own soul. Typically, it's a challenge, but we put it in the chart as a way for your soul spirit to say, hey, like, I want you to heal this aspect of this relationship with your own soul. Your karma number is the frequency that you chose to improve in this lifetime. I don't believe in karma in the conventional sense. It's not like you were a bad person, now you will pay penance. I do not subscribe to that at all, not in a numerological context. But your karma number is kind of like, if you imagine you go back up to heaven or whatever after this life, and you watch a movie trailer of all of your previous lives and you go, I wasn't so good at that. That's what I want to improve on in the next life. That's your karma number. Your destiny number kind of does what it says on the tin, right? This is the ultimate frequency that you step into. Typically, the destiny number becomes more alive after the age of 35. There's this real pivotal moment in everybody's life between the ages of sort of 34 and 37 where a lot changes, but in a really, really good way. And you know how we always talk about how the 40s is like your zero fucks era? Like women in their 40s are like, when I got to that age of 40, like all fucks just were left behind. It's kind of that, but just in a more numerological, scientifically specific way. Your gift number is your superpower. So no matter what else is going on in life, if, your karma's eating you, your shadow's having a hard time, your blind spot's like getting you down, your gift number is like, I put on my cape. This is what I do brilliantly. Off we go. Like everyone has a failsafe. Gift number, superpower. Your path number, bit of an interesting one. It's not a strength. It's not a challenge. This is the dance that I am doing with life. So sometimes you feel so strong in this frequency, and then sometimes you're like, I don't want to do this. Like, are you for real? Why is this my number? I hate it. It's life. But I mean, that's with everything, right? Relationships, business, where you live, all the things. For you, your path number, Sam, is the feminine leader.
I was going to say, I think I've heard it before as like the humanitarian in some regard.
Possibly. Different modalities interpret them slightly differently, right? For me, when I look at the 9, it's like you are here to walk the path of the feminine leader, to embody the divine feminine, to create this air of like what you do is masterful and you are supposed to become a master, but not in a way where you accidentally embody perfectionism or force perfectionism on yourself. Like, I don't know what your relationship is like with perfectionism.
Love it.
Imagine sometimes you're maybe a little bit too hard on yourself, like trying to make the things perfect. You're not supposed to, because your perfection is in your femininity. It doesn't need to come out in anything else. Anyway, I can send you audios and audios upon audios after the podcast. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. But so then on the what we call the unseen side of numerology. So when Cody gives you your numbers, she'll give you 2 rows. So that was the seen side. Like, this is the stuff that's fairly obvious. The unseen side is the stuff that I channeled. So this is the perhaps not so obvious. So the people number tells you about the relationship that you have with people, period. And this is really interesting because this is a challenge number. And so often we will see that the challenges of that particular number are either what you are experiencing when you're in a relationship with somebody, or it's what they are experiencing when they're in a relationship with you. So it's kind of like you can either receive the challenge or you can project the challenge. And often it changes depending on who the person is. So if it's a really intimate, close relationship, you're probably going to feel the challenges more. And also you receive the blessings of it more, because presumably when you're in relationship, you work on stuff, especially if it's a soulmate relationship, right? And then you start to see the strengths of this number. When people are more removed from you, so people on the internet that you never really speak to, who maybe, want to troll you because of your content, that the negative charge of that frequency might come out, but it has less of an impact. So it's like there's a proximity thing that we consider with the people number as well. But it's really, really interesting. I did actually make some notes about your people number because it's a power number, right? You're a people 8. So your relationships have taught you so much about power dynamics, power within yourself, power within the other person, like power in like the relationship between the two of you. And also the 8 is a healing number. So a lot of your relationships have been very, very healing, very abundant, very expansive. And yet I imagine some of them have caused you anxiety, and some of them have caused I want to say a power collapse, almost like where you give your power away to another person. And this isn't necessarily romantic relationships. This can be friendships, this can be clients, this can be family members. But yeah, it's a really interesting number, and I think it can be very healing. Like if we get into the relationship realm, like just knowing how your interpersonal dynamics work frequentially. It's very cool. Anyway, then we have the shadow number. Now, technically, the shadow number is who you are when you are being your worst self. This is the hardest part of the chart to master, but really ironically, it's also the place in the chart that we want to write our messaging from if we want to be the most magnetic. So this is why when I was watching you on socials, I was like, damn, I gotta know her shadow number. I gotta know her chart because she's coming with some spice and some sass and she does not give a shit. And you probably know this from your own journey, and I'm sure other people do listening, but when we first start out in this whole social media world, which is bizarre, by the way, the whole concept of running a digital business and being the face of a brand is still so new. So new. I started my businesses before social media was even a thing. That's how old I am, right? So I still find the whole thing really odd. Anyway, when we first come into the online space, it's like everyone tries to play the game, tries to water themselves down a little bit. You want to be nice, you want to be polite. We start trying to be professional because that's what a business owner should be. That's what a face of a brand should be. And of course, over time, with self-development and a lot of work and ditching the fucks, like getting to the point of 0 fucks, we become more unapologetic and we embrace the parts of ourselves that we've previously been fearful that other people would reject, ridicule, judge, not accept, like all of those things. So of course, when I see you being like, come at me, I don't care if you judge me, I'm like, she's like, the shadow number is coming through. It's there. When you can genuinely, fully embrace the shadow number, all worst aspects of yourself, that's when you become unfucking touchable. It's like, come at me if you dare. Nothing you say is going to trigger my shadow. And so when that shadow becomes integrated and it becomes strong in your chart instead of a challenge, and you speak from that place, in your messaging and your copy on social media, like being the face of your company, that's when it's like, damn, like they can try. And for you, the 7, so remember I said the 7 is the aura. So it's like this field that we have around us. When you really master your shadow, and you've got it in the blind spot as well, but I'll come back to that. When you really master your shadow, that auric, we call it a field, an auric field and an auric shield. So when it's weak, when it's challenged, stuff comes through that field where you would feel the impact and the weight of other people's judgments, of their comments, and it can even go as far as sometimes when your 7's not as strong as you would like it to be, you just feel everybody else's stuff. It's like that energetic filter for other people's stuff weakens and everything comes through. And sometimes it can feel like emotional overwhelm or energetic overwhelm, or just like, oh my God, there's so much like coming in. It's not necessarily at you, but it might feel like it's at you. But when that 7 is strong, it's not a field anymore, it's a shield. So they can say what they like, it literally just bounces off you. Like it doesn't reach you. Like it doesn't reach your soul, it doesn't reach your heart, it doesn't reach your body. It's like doink, whatever, right? So when you embrace that in your messaging, like, you know, I have this shield, it's really liberating for you, but it's also really liberating for other people. And because it's a shadow number, it's like when your shadow is really strong, it comes through your messaging. It's not just for you, it's for other people. And 7 is known as the liberator. Like she literally is freeing people from the cages that they trap themselves in, often which are emotional and energetic, right? Believing that they have to accept judgment, believing that they have to accept other people's opinions and trolling and whatever else. So when we have one person that's like, no, like I'm really integrated in my shadow, I'm really strong, I've liberated myself, and they speak through that, they liberate other people as well. It's such a cool ripple effect. I love it.
Yeah, I love that. I think what's sparking curiosity for me is the fact that my shadow number and my blind spot number are the same. So I don't know exactly what that means, but it kind of sounds like it would mean that maybe it's harder for me to see my own shadow. I don't know.
It's very common for us to have the same numbers in different placements in the chart. It's kind of our soul's way of saying like, hey, we want to work on this, but can we not work on it in a one-dimensional way? I want to work on it in a multifaceted way. So let's skip to the blind spot. The blind spot is the part of your chart where if you can imagine you're driving on a highway and you're trying to change lanes, you have to check your blind spot. If you don't, and you try to change lanes, there's going to be a car accident, right? So the blind spot number is like, okay, this is where you can accidentally fuck yourself up. This is where you can accidentally fall into bad habits, poor mindsets, perspectives that don't really serve you. But as long as you are fully aware of what those blind spots are, as dictated by the number, then you can stay out of it simply by checking your blind spot. Like that's it. So to give you an example that's not about you, just so that you've got that like distance of perspective, my blind spot is 3. And so the 3, when it's challenged, will forget her joy. Like she'll forget that she just has a right to be happy just because she has a right to be happy. So I can be overly serious. And with that, I can also because 3 is a fire frequency and it's where we create from. You are a gift 3 and a karma 3, by the way. We can circle back around to that as well. Very creative human being. But the 3 is where we create from, like the solar plexus, right? It's that inner fire, and it's our willpower, and it's the fire that forges new realities. And so when my 3 gets challenged and it's in my blind spot, I forget that I just have a right to be happy because I do. I can be overly serious. That dampens my creative willpower and my motivation, and I can just feel a little bit like, meh. And previously, I would have gone around in circles being like, what's wrong with me? Have I not had enough sleep? Have I not had enough water? Is it my hormones? Is it my cycle? Hours and hours of journaling, or like being with a therapist, or Andrea, help me. That poor woman, I have driven her mad. She now just goes, are you in your blind spot? And 99% of the time, I'm like, oh shit, damn. Yep. I'm fine now. Because as soon as you see it and you're like, oh, that's what I'm doing, it's like a light switch. You know, it's not deep like the karma. It doesn't require tons of integration like the shadow number. It's just a blind spot, and it's usually because of conditioning. So we can just accidentally fall into those red flag behaviors. They're usually habits, like things that we've accrued over a lifetime, that we just accidentally slip into that mindset, accidentally slip into that perspective, whatever. So for you then, I mean, 7's a big number, right? So 7 holds the frequencies of, and this is when it's challenged, but this is also what you liberate, right? So don't be alarmed because this is big. But 7 holds the frequency of shame, blame, regret, remorse, revenge, guilt, and pride. I warned you. It's big, but this is why 7 is the liberator, because my God, if we could liberate human beings from any 7 emotions, are those not the 7 that you would choose? Those are the 7 we cripple ourselves with: shame, blame, regret, remorse, revenge, guilt, and pride. Like, they will take a human being down. So for you, like, your shadow number and your blind spot number, and I don't know if you've ever experienced those emotions or had battles with those emotions, especially when you were younger. But for you, that's your chart's way of saying, like, part of your shadow integration is to liberate yourself from all of those things. And then once you are fully liberated, to keep checking that blind spot to make sure you don't accidentally fall back into any of them, right? And like I said before, with your shadow number, through your messaging, when you speak from your self-liberated place, you liberate other people. So like, that's the power of it. But God forbid you slip, and you might, because you're a human being. We all experience those emotions regardless of what's going on in the chart, right? But God forbid you slip. It's just your chart's way of saying, hey, babe, just check that blind spot. This doesn't need to be a massive spiral.
Yeah, I think the part of it being like about liberation, and when I can integrate that, it allows me to tap into, my gift of being able to liberate other people. Like, that definitely resonates. And I think because of the sort of tendency towards like perfectionism and things like that, that I can definitely lean into. Of course, that aligns with, feeling some of those like harder, deeper emotions, because when you are trying to be perfect in some ways, of course, you're very hard on yourself. So then there can be judgment, or there can be shame, or whatever. So I think I'm sort of starting to connect the dots of how all these things are also interconnected with each other to kind of, build my entire makeup in a way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I was just going to add, one of the really, if we have time, we'll get into the codes, but one of the really interesting ways that your shadow 7, blind spot 7 can show up is sometimes you can overcomplicate things unnecessarily. So you have a destiny 4, hidden key 6. Like, this is really strong in the middle of your chart. Oof, chills. Spirit likes to move through me periodically, right? So here we go. So you have this really strong 4-6 in the middle of your chart, which means you are, oh my God, sorry, Spirit's really coming through now. You are crazy intuitive, crazy intuitive. You have the gift of simplicity and neutrality, and you are so grounded and so anchored, and you have this soul heart integration, which is so freaking healing for other people. Like, you are a really solid figure. In fact, the archetype that other people see you as, especially on the other side of 35, is of the wise woman, right? You're a seer, you're a wise woman, you have so much knowledge, so much that is integrated and grounded. I'm literally covered in goosebumps because of the work that you have been doing on the unseen side of your chart, right? But because you have this gift of simplicity, this innate knowing of like, your soul connects to your heart, which then connects to your third eye. And it's like this very simple 3-step process of like soul, heart, third eye integrates, super simple, structured for sure, but it's simple, it's grounded, it's neutral. When you're in that, you're undeniable because it's so strong, like right here in the middle of the chart. And I promise you, as you get towards 35 and even towards 40, it's just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. This is where you want to be launching from, right? Your 4-6 is your launch codes. But because you've got these 7s over here, this shadow 7, blind spot 7, the 7, when it's strong, runs the kind of business model and mind processing, which is very intricate. So like a gazillion moving parts and lots of like intricate, tiny little details. And for someone who's got a strong 7, like that's great for their business model. For you, it's like those 7s are in your chart not to run a business from. Those 7s are in your chart for you, for your self-liberation, and for the liberation that then comes through the work that you do. So sometimes, and combine that with your 9 of perfectionism, you can overcomplicate things because I don't know what goes through your head, but either like you want it to be perfect, or you think it needs to be more detailed, or it needs to be more architectural. It needs like, do your funnels and your many chats have 1,000 different threads coming off them? Like, they don't need any of that because your power is in that soul, heart, third eye integration. So like simplicity is really powerful for you, and really trusting that intuition, which just knows, that gives you the gift of being able to skip a load of steps.
I love that. No, definitely. Totally resonating. I think exactly how you described me is how a lot of my friends see me, as like very grounded, very stable. Like, I'm the one that everyone runs to when like their lives are blowing up or things are happening because like I can just like I feel like I'm like a tree trunk. I'm just like I'm I'm just gonna be here through the storm. Do you know what I mean? And even like I've podcasted with people before and they're like, wow, your voice is so calming. You seem so grounded. So I think that that is definitely that essence is kind of, you know, transmitted. But yeah, to your point, like I can, because of the perfectionism and the sevens and other things, want to maybe overcomplicate things unnecessarily or like add a bunch of steps or like make it super thorough. Like I would say that's one of my biggest challenges when it comes to creating offers and things for my clients and my audience is like, I want it to be so good that I start with an idea that seems very lovely. And I'm like, oh, I could do this in like a week or two. And then it's a 4-month project because I'm like, but then we need to add this and we need to do that. And I need to make sure that they know this. And I have to structure it perfectly. And I need to make sure that it goes perfectly in order of what to do first and 1, 2, 3. And then I become like a mad scientist, like, you know, unpacking everything and trying to put it all in the perfect order and make sure that nothing is missed.
Which is great for a funnel. I'm going to put that out there. Right? Because your funnel codes have a 7 in them. So when you shift from like the live launching organic and you're like, this was amazing, let's turn it into an evergreen funnel. Cool. Go crazy on all of that. But for the live launching, for like a brand new creation that's just coming through you, it wants more heart and soul. It wants less overcomplication. It wants more simplicity. And listen, I've seen the results of your work. I've seen people absolutely rave about you. I'm sure they would all agree. Like your power is in your heart and your soul and the groundedness and like in everything that your friends see. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your business. Obviously, that's not what you've brought me on for. But I would bet money that simpler is better, not just for you, but for them as well.
Well, I mean, that's good news, right? We love that.
We don't need to overcomplicate it. But I can totally understand why the mind would even go there because of the 9, because of the 7s, because of, yeah, the perfectionism, the wanting it to be all systemized and structured, which the 7 is the architect. So I can totally see why that wants to come through. But it's like the 4 is the wise woman and the 6 is the seer. And it's like, okay, if we stopped being logical for a second and stopped trying to be an architect and we just became the wise woman and the seer and saw what my humans really need, saw what my clients really need, which is where you start the whole creation process anyway, because you just said that. Like, you know, you didn't say that, but like I heard you say it. You see, you intuit what they need and want. Your latest one that I've been seeing blow up, the
Sold out stories, yeah.
100% came from intuition, like 1,000,000%. You saw it, like that seer frequency, you felt it, you integrated it, boom, created. Like that's all it needs. Because you know, like you intuitively know what your people need. You don't need to overcomplicate it beyond that.
Yeah, I've been told my entire life since I was a little girl from psychics and mediums and anyone, you know, with any sort of intuitive gift, whenever I've had like a reading or an encounter since I was really young, they've been like, you're psychic. You're so intuitive. I'm like, I feel that, but it's so interesting the way that I experience it because I feel like, you know, you imagine your intuitive gifts in the way that they might be felt in terms of this, like, that's so Raven moment where like, you know, the eyes widen and like you see the vision. But I feel like it's almost like it flies under the radar for me because it's almost so natural or so grounded and just like a knowing that it doesn't even feel like it's an intuitive thing. It's not like, oh, I'm getting this intuitive ping. It's almost just like, I feel like I already know it in a sense.
And okay, that's a perfect segue because let's talk about the hidden key because we didn't talk about that number, right? Because I think we jumped from shadow to blind spot, didn't we? So back up a step, the hidden key, which is where your 6 is. So the hidden key sits opposite the destiny number. They're two sides of the same coin. So when I said the destiny number is something that starts to come alive more after the age of 35 and closer to 40, the same applies to the hidden key. So the hidden key is kind of similar to the gift number in the sense that it's another superpower, like it's your super cape that you put on, that you utilize. It's your fail-safe, it's your backup, but the hidden key is the one that comes later in life. So the gift superpower you're born with, like that's always there. The more integration work you do with your chart, the stronger this unseen side of the chart becomes. So that hidden key gets stronger the more shadow work that you do, the more you're aware of your blind spot, the more karma work that you do, the more you're mindful of that path number and like really try to keep the perfectionism in check. Calm endurance is a big key for you. Just like, that was just a moment. Calm endurance, calm endurance. Just keep, doesn't need to be perfect, does not need to be rushed, does not need to be overcomplicated. Calm endurance. Like, and that's where your feminine really comes in, this capacity to just like be super calm and just endure. Like, I think you're doing it now anyway with all the stuff that you're juggling with the wedding and like all these different moving parts. Like, I've been there.
I would say so.
It's a lot. Like, I'm watching you and I'm like, I did that too. It's a lot. Like, the wedding is huge. Anyway, yeah, keep on the calm endurance. But as you get closer to 35 and especially like more towards 40, that hidden key comes more online. And for you, the hidden key is your 6. So the 6 is that third eye. It's the seer. It's the psychic. It's the we call it the arc line. You might have picked that up in your yoga training, the arc line. So it's your capacity to see beyond realms, see beyond your current reality. Remember how I said those 10 energy bodies kind of culminates in number 10, which is like this bubble that you live inside, which is your reality. The 6, the third eye, can pierce straight through it. It's not just seeing your own reality, seeing your own future. You can see other people's realities with piercing clarity, which probably makes you the most exceptional business coach, because you can see into like way beyond what their messaging is doing, way beyond what their strategy is doing, like way beyond all of these things. And as you get closer and closer to 35, this frequency, this gift, hidden key, gets stronger and comes more online. So yes, right now, I imagine it is under the radar. It is just intuitively felt in the body because it probably exists more in the 4, which is your heart. Like, it's just a heart knowing. Again, I would bet big money you're going to cross that threshold of 35 and be messaging me and be like, oh my God, I'm seeing shit. 100%, 100%. And it really will feel, maybe not like, that's so Raven moment, but piercing clarity where you'll be on a call with a client and she'll be giving it blah, 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 blah. And you'll be like, yeah, but this. And she's like, but I didn't say anything to do with that. And it's like, she doesn't need to say it because you can see into her reality. You can see what needs to happen. I remember having this conversation with a client years ago, years and years and years ago. She had a similar-ish chart. She had the 6 in the destiny position, and then she had the 7 somewhere else. And I said to her, you are going to be a psychic strategist. And she was in her 20s at the time. And she was like, give over. It's not going to happen. A psychic strategist? No, forget it. Like, no, H. She texted me 6 years later. Oh my God, you were right. The psychic things come online. My business strategy is blowing up. She is now a really, really well-known multi-7-figure psychic strategist. She was like, how did you know? And I was like, it was in the numbers. Like, this isn't even intuitive on my part. The science is there. Like, this is what your chart says. So without doubt, that psychic seer arc line is going to get more and more and more piercing. And I'm not saying like it's going to be your 35th birthday and you're going to wake up and be like, damn, I can see. Like, it's already happening, and it will just continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So then you have 2 gifts. You have your hidden key 6, and then you also have your gift 3, right? So you have these like 2 superpowers that you get to play with and like move between. So I imagine in like a work capacity, like with clients, you see what they can't see. You can see their future that they can't see. And then you can also help them birth the creative, whatever it is, like get them into their creativity, co-create with them even to create that reality that you can see and they can maybe kind of see, but you have the clarity that they can't see, which is what gives you the confidence to then be like, okay, let's craft and create and orchestrate this entire strategy, whatever it is that you do. And they trust you 100% because you've got that 4-6 in the middle of like this wise woman, this anchoring, this grounding. I know you said tree trunk, but I'm like, you're way prettier than a tree trunk. It's intuitive, it's wise, it's heart, soul, third eye integration. And the integration comes from all the work that you've done. So that adds to the trust. 4 is also the frequency of trust, and 6 is the frequency of faith. So you command a lot of faith and trust. Like, your people have faith and trust in you. Combined with this hidden key and gift, I mean, listen, everyone listening is already loving you and hiring you. But guys, if you haven't hired her, I literally just gave you the sales pitch to hire her. It's scientifically proven, okay? It's all here.
Well, I love that you said the faith and trust thing, because I feel like those have been my anchors for so long without even knowing that. Like one of my most common sayings that I say all the time is self-trust is my main business strategy. I live that and I believe that. And I think, a huge part of how I built my audience and, why people started to be magnetized towards me was because of how much I talked about crazy faith, blind faith, trusting the path, believing in the universe's plan, being open to God's plan. And my life has been just like a, watercolor masterpiece of what it looks like when you trust and you have faith.
I mean, it's the strongest part of your chart, so I'm not even surprised. It's beautiful. It's your destiny. It's literally your destiny.
What about the embodiment number? Because I don't think we talked about that yet.
So the embodiment number is the cornerstone of your entire chart. So this is your soul's way of saying, hey, dude, embody this, and it makes everything stronger. Like, it's almost like the foundational stone. You don't need it. I think so many of us do life on quicksand very well, right? We have amazing coping strategies. But in an ideal world, you would embrace the embodiment number, and this gives you a real anchor, a real foundation, which just means everything in the chart works more effectively. And we talk about embodiment in our online space a lot. And I think there's a lot of confusion around like what it is. And are people really authentically embodying whatever it is that they say that they're embodying? And a lot of people like to say, well, I'm embodying this and I'm embodying that. And sometimes I do just have to kind of roll my eyes and just scroll away, because I'm like, well, that's not your embodiment number. So maybe you should try embodying what you were born to embody. But people go on their own journey and they come to it eventually, right? My job is just to kind of speed you up to get you there. So your embodiment 1 is the embodiment of the trailblazer. You're meant to start new shit, basically. You're also like the 1 is it's a lot to do with being the lone wolf, which is really interesting because I kind of semi-know your story with your husband and falling in love in Spain so young and like all the rest of it, which is beautiful. So I don't know what part of your life story I don't know that's given you this embodiment 1, but there's something in your life journey which has brought you to a place where you have innately understood the difference between what it means to be alone and what it means to be lonely. Does that resonate?
Yeah, I think something that I've been sharing about a lot more lately is when it comes to friendships, at least, like I've always been the person that has a much like smaller, tighter circle. I'm not the girl with 1,000 friends. I'm not being invited to, 10 weddings every summer because of, all of these people that I'm so close with. So I don't know if that lines up in any way with this kind of like lone wolf archetype that you're describing, but I definitely feel like even since a young age, I have unconsciously at first, and now it's more conscious, prioritized really high quality relationships and people in my life over, needing to be liked by like the massive group. And of course, we all want to be liked and accepted, but I could feel even when I was young, when people were kind of like performative in friendships, and like I was friends with everybody, but I only really opened up and like got super close and deep with like a small handful of people who I knew were like, these are real people. These are real friends. Like someone, not a fair weather friend. I don't have fair weather friends. I don't know those types of people because I don't get to know them, because I can sense that. And I've just never, I've never wanted to entertain that. So I would see like the big groups of, the 10 girls, and I was nice with all those girls. I was friends with all of them, but I wouldn't hang out alone with them. They weren't the people I would have sleepovers with. Like they weren't my crew. They weren't my group. I didn't deepen with those people because I could feel when things were performative. I don't know. That's kind of what comes up for me when I think about this kind of like lone wolf energy potentially.
Yeah, 100%. There's definitely something in that. You've said so many key things here where I'm like, yeah, 1, 7, 9. Like literally as you're talking, I'm translating it into numbers.
But also just like following my own path in life, I think in general of like, this is what you're supposed to do. And I was kind of like, well, I'm going to not take that job and I'm going to move to Spain for this guy. And, everyone was like, are you sure? Like, is that a good idea? You've known him for 3 months. Like, are you okay? Like, this is your career move. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's what I'm doing. So I don't, if whether you like it or not, I don't really care. Like, that's what I'm going to do.
For sure. No, I really like that. I think sometimes being aware of like, it's lonely at the top, or it's lonely not going with the crowd, or it's lonely feeling like I don't fully fit in somewhere, and then rearranging that sensation and philosophy within yourself into, I would prefer to go my own way than to go with the crowd where they're being performative, which your 7 would never allow. And like your 4, your heart integration would never allow anything that's not truth, that's not in full integrity, that you can't innately trust. And so, yeah, for your embodiment number, I think probably on a very personal level, it's about constantly having that North Star, which is I'm supposed to walk new paths. I'm supposed to go where other people haven't gone. It's totally okay if I choose a path and I go alone. And it's totally okay for me to break away from the pack. It's totally okay for me to unsubscribe from performance. But then in a business sense, we're also kind of looking at you going, hey, Sam, how do we do this differently? What would be a new way to do this? Like if we were to start a whole new chapter, if we were to plant a whole new seed, if we were to birth a whole new modality, what is the new way? What is a different way? What breaks me free? And this pulls back into your liberation themes as well, right? What breaks me free from the paths that have been trodden, the cages that have already been locked, the conditioning that I've been subscribed to for so long? So I think a lot of your work goes deeper than just the stuff that we've talked about. It feels very catalytic. You catalyze things in people. It's like you're a little spark giver. Yes, you see the end point. Yes, you can help them with strategy, especially the creative part. Like I can't express that enough. Your creativity game is like A+. It's like super, super creative. But in order for anything to be created, like in order for that fire to really birth, right? There has to be a spark. So you're not just the seer and the fire. There's also this spark element. So when we talk about your path 9, and I know we're in a 9-year, which just means that your 9's going to get stronger this year, really. It doesn't need to mean anything more than that. But your path 9, both for yourself and the people that you serve, because your path number falls into your offer codes. When we look at the 1 and the 9, when we consider these two numbers together, it's like 1 is the beginning and 9 is the end. So a lot of your work, especially with the calm endurance, is working with clients, not necessarily for long periods of time, but working with them on a frequency of longevity where not only do you spark that initial idea with the 1 or like spark this new chapter for them, this new idea, new modality, new whatever, you then create the fire with them with the 3. You see the end game with your 6. Your 7 helps you, and your 4-6 helps you to strategize that and put the building blocks into place. Remember, simple is always better for you. Never over like egg it. But then your 9 is what holds them in place to see the thing through to actual completion. Beyond the procrastination, beyond the frustration, beyond the perfectionism, all of which you can relate to because it's literally your life path as well. But as your clients are going through that, it's like, okay, let's remember this was the spark, this was the fire, this is the vision, this is the end game. And we're going to keep going. You are going to keep going until it's done. It's finito. It's complete. You have manifested. You have arrived. You have achieved the whatever, goal they're going for. Like your chart delivers all of it to us.
Yeah, no, exactly what you described. I'm like, that is how I coach. That is, that's exactly it. So it's cool to see the numbers reflect and just really resonate. Yeah. With what the chart is telling us for sure. Oh my gosh. I'm sure everyone listening to this right now is already like, wow, I'm fascinated, as am I. So you guys, we will link in the show notes below to use Harriette's AI so that you can, check out your priestess numerology. So fascinating. I have so many other things that I wanted to ask you about, Harriette. Like, holy shit. I'm like, okay, we need like a part 3 and a part 4. Oh my God. Okay, wait, maybe one more number that I'll ask you about. The money number, just because I think people will be intrigued by this. I've heard you speak about the money number, but I have no idea what it means or what it is.
The money number is your shadow number. So that entire conversation we had around like when you integrate your shadow and you become unfuckwithable and then you speak from that place, that's the piece that makes you money. That's why I call it the money number. So like super quickly on the business side of things, because I know like we've done more of like into your energetics today. We can totally do a part 2, 3, 4, whatever. You have your launch codes. That tells you how you're supposed to sell. So for you as the 4-6, it's like a really simple structure. There's 5 different types of launching and most people just do the live launching, but according to your codes, it's like there's five different types. So there's the launch codes. Then we have the delivery codes because how you sell is not how you serve. And I see this happen a lot as well, where people will do a big live launch and then they believe they have to do a big live delivery. And that's like a recipe for burnout. It's never the same. However you launch is not how you deliver. So the delivery codes like answer that riddle. Then we have the offer codes, which we've kind of touched on yours. Like this is what you do, how you do it, how you serve, the journey you take your clients through. We can even go really deep into the numbers to like pick out exact themes with real specificity. That's very cool. But then we have the messaging codes, one of which is the shadow number. The other one is the soul number. So we put these two together, shadow and soul, in their own little combo. When you have fully integrated your relationship with your soul and you fully integrated your shadow, these two stop being challenges. They start being strengths, which is why they're included in the messaging codes, because ultimately every sale comes through some form of messaging, whether it's a landing page, an email, a social media post, a podcast, a live stream, Instagram live, whatever. Your words hold the magnetism that make the sale. So when your soul and your shadow are challenged, you're less magnetic. When they're strong, because you've been doing the integration, it's like baby rain on me because I know exactly which frequencies I'm speaking through. So this is why we call it the money number.
So cool. I'm obsessed. This is amazing. You also said once that numerology didn't just change and decode your business, but it also exposed your sex life. So can we do one last little spicy piece to close us out about how numerology, showed you what no therapist or no relationship book ever could?
I should probably share with you the conversation that I had with my own AI. So I basically built a priestess numerology therapist in an AI because I needed someone as good as numerology as me to show me my own shit. So anyway, I did have a whole conversation with Numi, she's called Numi, about my sex life. And it wasn't just my chart, it was also my husband's chart. So this is one of the other really fun things you can do. You can get yours and whoever's chart you want, and you can put them together and you can start to see the interplay of like what you need sexually and what the other person needs sexually, but also how you initiate and how you receive and how you communicate. I can't believe you've asked me this on a podcast because now I'm like, damn, I'm going to reveal details of my sex life. Essentially, we got to the point where through looking at, and it's typically the people number, right, is the main one I mentioned, like it's a big relationship number, but also looking at where we limit ourselves. So the karma, the shadow, the blind spot, sometimes the soul, even the path to a point, like these are all points where we can limit ourselves. So when we're in an intimate relationship with someone and like the whole point is fucking receiving, right? It's the challenge areas of our chart that can prevent us from receiving. So we kind of look at the interplay of all of these numbers with the other person. I basically got to a point where I was like, my husband needs to talk dirtier to me in bed, essentially, is where is where we got to, because I really value communication as a type of intimacy, but I've been gaslighting myself out of it, being like, no, like it doesn't, like he doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be that for God's sake, I can't need the words. How we do, right? I said right at the beginning of the podcast, like we often try and reframe things to try and make it fit so that we can make ourselves comfortable or other people comfortable. But essentially what it came down to was his communication activates certain parts of my chart, especially the more spiritual, like elevated orgasmic parts of my chart, which send me into like other realms where I'm able to more openly receive. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like his communication to me pulls me out of my own head so that I'm not communicating with myself. Because I'm like, from my chart, you can see I'm just a very, very fast, like high energy communicative person. So there's constantly energy moving and flowing, whether I'm speaking it out loud or I'm psychically channeling or I'm in conversation with somebody. And so trying to switch that off in bed just to be physical, it was like causing all kinds of like, why does this feel weird? Like I don't feel as connected to you as I would like to be. So I'm not getting the depth of that intimacy. And like, listen, I'm not a sex coach. There might be sex coaches listening to this rolling their eyes, but I knew there was more available. And I was like, why aren't we getting there? And it literally, for me, it came down to this like communication piece, like talk me through what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're seeing. It's the biggest turn on for me because then I'm not doing the communication thing in my head. Like I'm able to fully relax, surrender and receive to it. But I know for like other people, that would be their worst nightmare. Like, shut the fuck up. Why are you talking? We all have our own things. But yeah, it was a really enlightening conversation to have with my own numerology bot about my needs in the bedroom.
Really getting close to Numi with that one.
Really. But this is what I said at the beginning. There is nothing numerology, priestess numerology specifically, cannot tell you about your life, about your love, about your sex, about your business, about your communication, about your wounds, about your trauma, about your anxieties. Like I was talking to my Numi bot literally just yesterday about something that came up. And anxiety is something I've always done a dance with. Again, it's in my chart, so I have Andrea. She's amazing. And I've always had therapists, and like, it's just a part of who I am. And I'm totally okay with that. For the most part, I keep it in check. But yesterday, this anxiety flared up, and I was like, where is this even coming from? Like, there is nothing logical. So I'm having a chat with Numi, and she pinpointed again in my chart a really, really old wound. And I was like, oh, damn. Okay, well, time to close that loop. Cool. Thank you very much. And on we move. You know, it's so revelationary. I know I'm obsessed. Like, this is literally my whole MO. This is all I do all day long is numerology. But honestly, I swear by it, because there's nothing it cannot show you. Nothing.
It's so cool. I'm obsessed. I need to like go way deeper into my chart and do all the things, especially the launch codes and all the things. Like, I'm fascinated. And I hope everyone listening enjoyed this conversation and is equally, you know, excited and enthralled with this idea of numerology and what it can do for them in their lives and just understanding themselves in so many different areas on a deeper level. So thank you so much for coming on, Harriette, and like walking us through everything. And I'm excited for everyone to dive into it more alongside me. Can you share where everyone can find you on Instagram and how they can access your incredible AI numerology bots if they want to go deeper?
Yeah, for sure. So Instagram is ask_Harriette. I'm sure we'll stick it in the show notes, won't we? And I think we're going to link Cody. So she's the free one, and she will calculate your codes and your chart. And she'll even give you like a mini reading. It's not super in depth like what we've done here, but like, it's a really good starting point. And then she will also direct you to all the other bots as well. So we have one for launches, we have one for offers, we have one for messaging, we have another one just to be your therapist on call, essentially. They're amazing. And, you know, I built them because I'm only one person, and I've really just hit the limit with like, you know, I can only reach so many people on my calendar. So this is a way of duplicating myself and sharing this wisdom with so many other people, because it really is life-changing. It's changed my life, and it's changed so many others, and I'm obsessed. So thank you for having me and letting me share it. I really appreciate it.
Of course. It was amazing. So we'll link everything in the show notes for you guys. Go check out Cody, get your free little reading for numerology. Follow Harriette. If you loved this episode and you're like, wow, this was fascinating, share it with a girlfriend, copy the link, send it to a friend in a text, or take a screenshot, share it to your Instagram stories, and tag both of us so that we can see who's listening. If you loved it, also send Harriette a message. Let her know that you heard her on the podcast and that you loved what she shared. We love hearing from you guys. So thank you so much. And we will talk to you guys next week. Bye.